Like, stop at a four-way intersection. It's like, if you're the first person to stop, you have the right of way. Yeah, it's a no-brainer. Unfortunately, I'm near a college campus, so there's a lot of people, maybe young, inexperienced drivers, whatever. So me and the guy stop at the four-way intersection. We start crossing, and then the person who was making the right-hand turn proceeded to cut me off, and it was just like, wow, this is crazy, dude. Like, I can't even.
There she is.
Hello, welcome.
Hi.
To those listening, Miss Mariel Campbell, welcome, welcome.
Glad to be
Well,
here,
Yes,
as
definitely.
always.
We're happy to have you here.
Great having you with us. We're just having some very, relatively speaking, dull conversations, but it's
I'm
amazing.
sure. I'm sure it's always so dull around here.
Well, I mean, perspective depending. I mean, you don't have much time in your 112-hour work week for gaming. And so we were normally we wouldn't bring out features in Halo to you because you're like, what's video games? They have those. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah. Works in her sleep. So,
yeah, yeah.
but I mean, we were talking about it earlier. I said, Eddie, I want you to realize something about this woman. And this is not an insult by any means to you personally, to our listeners out there. This is a compliment. Our foreign listeners are going to be like, what is he raving about? But work ethic, long story short. But no, we were talking about this earlier, how there are certain FEMA certifications that no longer exist. And because you have them all, you have some that cannot be acquired anymore. And because we were talking how your LinkedIn profile looks like something a Terminator would come up with. It's so perfect and thoroughly done. And yeah, it was it was
It is.
impressive. We were like, yeah, it's scary.
It's
Well, well,
highly
I will.
impressive.
I will say this. I do not have them all yet. Yet being the key and operative term. But I've always just been an avid learner. I absolutely love it.
Oh,
And they're very interesting courses to believe it or not take. And with the recent partial government shutdown, they actually just went back online, a lot of the courses in and of itself. So, I highly recommend them to anybody. They're very valuable, and actually you learn quite a bit from them.
what you
Definitely
just
not a
said
waste of
though.
time.
What you just said is a perfect point. And it's something we've talked about a number of times about how human capital, you can't just replace that with a machine or whatnot, that muscle memory.
Oh yeah.
When everything goes down, there's no internet to save you in the middle of, say, Nowhereville, North Carolina. It's that human expertise, that human working muscle memory that goes, oh, I know what to do because not only have I been out in the field, but I've taken 1,300 FEMA courses in the last 2.5 years. And so I know it sounds, I'm not making fun, I'm kidding. But the reality is you've got to have folks like that that are that invested. Like she's as invested in knowing her craft, and I mean this. She is as invested in knowing her craft as the infantrymen I served with as a Navy corpsman with the Marines. This is my rifle. There are many like it, but this one is mine. That little mantra Marines have, they're all riflemen. They all say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's that dedicated about that, man. I mean, not getting paid, went up there after a hurricane to make sure that North Carolina, and she's not from North Carolina, to make sure that their congresspeople and senator knew what was going on. Who does that?
Tip my hat to that one for sure.
That one does.
100%.
Welcome, welcome, Miss Campbell.
Well, thank you. No, I don't really take it as that though. It's more the fact that I got into this line of work due to the fact that I really wanted to make a difference, right? And being able to do that and then seeing everybody else around you, I mean, not that anything was wrong with that, just look at it as a job, right? Which then left a lot of people in a situation where, you know, they didn't necessarily know where to go or where to ask because there wasn't enough people to care to hone the craft, right? As you would call it, that cared to have that much knowledge to then just not make it by or cash a paycheck or pretend to make it seem like they knew what they were doing. But additionally, right, really make a difference, especially when it came to anything like disaster relief and really helping people in their greatest time of need. I mean, I hate to say it, but I'm the first one that it's not that I don't and I can't appreciate not knowing something, and I don't have a problem at, going to ask a question or whatever. But if you're not trying to hone what you're doing and you're not trying to better yourself and give yourself as much knowledge as possible to help somebody else, and you're in this line of work, then, you know, it kind of begs the question, what are you doing in this line of work?
Right.
Absolutely.
That's a good point.
Absolutely.
That's a fair point. And Eddie, that's not specific to any institution. I know you've seen that at whatever, not picking on Vassar. That's everywhere, every job you have, right? The box checking.
Oh, absolutely. There's, a vast amount of people with so much knowledge and specifications in their field, that people tend to forget to know who to ask when the questions are appropriate, or who to look forward to or who to guide. Oh, did you guys freeze on me? Ooh. I'm
There we
back.
go.
There he is.
I don't know what.
I'll re-ask the question, Eddie.
I don't know what happened.
With you present. Like, you've seen people that the box checking and they've got glittering resumes. They've been around forever. I feel like Congress is probably full of them. Former President Nixon put it, they ran to office to do well for in general and ended up doing very well for themselves, those type folks. But folks that have great resumes who they're just kind of there during the day, they're not necessarily hurtful, but they're not helpful. They don't really care. They're not invested in the process. Is it really just all about money? Is that it?
Unfortunately, some people that I, do work with are a bit checked out at the, after certain many years of working in a certain job, certain expertise. A lot of people get checked out, which is very unfortunate because if those people who have that so much knowledge and all these different certifications and things still kept the same passion that they had when they first started or halfway through the job, they could be doing really great and amazing things now. But I tend to see a lot of people get burned out and they lose that kind of passion.
And how much that is from things we don't see.
It could, there's so many external factors. I mean, you never know what people are going through in their life. There's a million and one factors people could be dealing with, from, family issues, health issues, external.
Well, the nurses during Katrina that lost everything, that were expected to nonetheless be there, like they could get in trouble as in licensure type trouble if they had refused to work.
Right. And I remember when I was really young, well, I wasn't too young. We had that crazy hurricane in New York, a Hurricane Sandy, and it like totally freaking destroyed New York City. It hit us really bad. We were out of power for about a week or two. It was crazy. But at the time, my father I think he just retired from professional firefighting. But he was also a local, like he's FEMA, he's a member of FEMA as well. And we had all the we actually had a really great amount of resources through him to be able to like survive. And it was pretty incredible, the amount of people that were helped in the area.
Through FEMA?
Mm-hmm.
And we only want to talk about the bad with FEMA, but as Mariel could easily take up here, I mean, there's not just the bad, right?
Oh, there's not. I mean, there are a lot of good people that are actually trying to actually make a difference within the organization in and of itself. There might have been a lot of, or some, not a lot, but some individuals that might be burnt out or whatever, especially with all the constant changes and influxes and everything going on right now. But in reality, I mean, there are a lot of people that see the organization for what it can be, what its capabilities are, what it should be, right? And want to make the most of that. But at the same time, what most people don't understand is that it is not its own cabinet level position organization. Like, they cannot just make whatever decision that they want. They cannot say, oh, well, we see that we need to make this change, we need to do
They're the
this now.
DHS.
They have to get permission to do that.
Mhm.
They
They're the
are under
DHS.
Department of Homeland Security. So if they don't get that permission, then, you know, they're kind of in a rock and a hard place. But then at the same time, they might be under a gag order that then they can't tell the public that they can't do that, even though they want to see it be done and they know it needs to get done, because they can't even control their own fate and what happens in their organization. And that's why there's so many people that, and professionals that have come out and said, no, like, we do need to be our own cabinet level organization, and we do need to have our own voice so that we know what needs to get done and we don't have to go through so much red tape to see what's happening. But then it's not being told to the public in that way. And then, the public just thinks, oh, well, FEMA didn't come help again. This is all FEMA's fault. FEMA's slow. FEMA's this and FEMA's that. Well,
Well,
I'm not saying that there isn't a lag sometimes in response, but then when you have to get permission from an organization that is as big as DHS, that as big as it has grown over the years, then, and it's just hard to be able to do that within an efficient amount of time when you can't even make those decisions that is your expertise and your specialty to see what needs to get done as it needs to be done.
that's
Mhm.
just so folks are clear, though. This is who we're talking about, though. When people say, "Oh, get a real job," when we're talking about tearing up the federal apparatus, and it's like these folks have real jobs.
Yeah.
It's kind of like your IT department. You hope you don't need them until you do. Like
Yeah.
IT folks, you don't want your IT person to have anything to do if you employ them.
Right.
If they
And
do,
so
something bad's going on.
Right. And so a lot of times, people don't understand that what they call blue sky days, where everything seems fine and dandy and everything's happy and go lucky, that really it takes a lot to be able to ensure that, right? And to maintain that stability. And on top of everything else, when you're then told that, oh yeah, hey, this situation just occurred, but we're not going to be able to give you an info. But also additionally, like, you can't get the resources out there in enough time, and it might be a bottleneck situation in which you have to send every single authorization request for $100,000 or more in a
Right. I heard
technical
it was
catastrophe,
stupid.
like through the head, not just anybody in DHS, the head of DHS
Right.
would think of a million things to do in a day and
Well,
a
where
million other
she
things to look at. And so then when I say it greatly slows down the process, and while yes, I understand that they want to make sure every tax dollar is properly accounted for and there isn't an overspend and stuff like that, it just begs the question of, okay, well, there has to be a better system of checks and balances than that, guys. And then, but at the same time, they can't even defend themselves. So then they just become a scapegoat for
well,
everybody else's blame.
the biggest thing there is if you are, to me, correct me if I'm wrong, but to me, if you are going to have such an absurd policy as a leader, by God, you better be available on demand. If everything's got to go through you at $100,000 in a federal agency, we're talking about a government that spends over $4 trillion a year. $100,000, like that's
Not,
chump change.
not just that. I
Well,
mean, the
and
amount of
her boyfriend, where
disasters.
she really snagged her drawers was having her boyfriend having that same decision-making power.
Well, that was going to be my next thing is you're going to have that type of decision making power. And again, I'm completely respectful to anybody in any type of authoritative position. I always have been. Even if I did not necessarily see eye to eye, I was never the type to ever talk about somebody when they weren't in the room or be able to justify themselves. You should, you know that better than anybody, Jack. But it's just the point that you need to be really experienced at being able to call those shots, know what you're doing, really. And I'm not saying that you don't necessarily know what you're doing, but I mean, if she had that level of experience to know what was necessary, to know what shots to call, what type of education have you received to be able to call said shots, to know what's going on, to understand the entire apparatus of what's going on. And I hate to say, even as I don't care if somebody did have every FEMA or, certification and everything in the world. There is no way as many catastrophes occur in this country at any given time that, believe it or not, fall under the FEMA spectrum, right? Whether that was COVID, whatever it was, right? They even labeled COVID as catastrophe and FEMA was having to respond to it, okay? There is not any way that every single request over $100,000 or more, which, again, there's a lot of insurance claims that are worth more than that,
Correct.
right? Yeah. That one person can decide all of that in an efficient period of time to where it's not the damages are not just piling up and increasing and getting worse, and people are sitting there in an even worse position. Like there's no way, even if you did work 18 to 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, and always do all that, that one person can do all of that.
Well,
it's just, it's not possible.
That brings me back to something we've talked about this, and Addie and I alluded to it, but in insurance, it's the same. Speed and accuracy and customer service. You're getting 2 out of 3 and in that kind of crunch.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're doing all of that, there's no way to focus on somebody's story, what's really going on. They really are just a number at that point. If you're doing all the other and you're doing it fast, 20 hours a day, 8 days a week, then you're not giving a damn about people when they're not going to perceive it that way. You may get everything done for them, check the boxes.
Oh,
but that's a big but.
Yeah.
Like J-Lo, I mean, yeah. What?
I believe in efficiency, right? I don't believe anybody should be purposely dragging their feet and being slow by any means. But there's also a difference between being efficient and working in an efficient pace and being fast and running through something, right? So I believe that you should try to work as efficiently as possible and try to come up with your own system and organization to be able to run as efficiently as possible. I'm not saying that you should necessarily be slow, but there's a difference between being fast and trying to be the first to be done and hurry up and close all these claims and being super quick and checking all the boxes. Well, that's great, but who did you really help by doing that? Did you help the insured, the customer? No. Did you help the insurance company that then is going to have to reopen that claim and then have another angry customer on their hands that they're going to have to deal with? So then by closing the claim and hurrying up and doing what you did, right, then it's just, you're creating more of a headache that somebody else is then going to have to deal with and clean up for you, exactly. Right? And then on top of that, like, then you're doing a disservice to the insurance company as well, because their whole thing, and whether people believe it or not, they actually do care because they know that you can go take your business anywhere else. And what only separates you, like, and their insurance company from the next insurance company is their quality customer service. And, when almost everything is priced the same and it's almost the same policy other than a few endorsements here or there, right? Like, is that level of customer service and care. That's why they're pushing it so much.
This is a perfect segue into the next point. And talking about victims and people on the receiving end of traumas, as we talked about this before, right? So with regard to Swalwell, he's the latest representative. I know y'all saw that in the news. He was supposed to, being coordinated as the next governor in California.
Oh, yes.
And 3 things that haven't gone to trial by jury of his peers later emerge in the news. That court of public opinion chopping block came down. That political career is over. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I don't particularly feel sorry for Eric Swalwell because I think he's a smarmy expletive deleted, and I'll leave it there. But he was one of the Trump campaign prosecution managers twice in the House impeachment. Regardless of what I think of President Trump, I'm not a fan of former Representative Swalwell when I say this. And that is, it's kind of scary to me. I think that you can have somebody's career ended like over 3, 4, who knows? I don't want to say I don't care, but regardless of how serious they are allegations,
Yeah.
None of this has been heard in a court of law. I mean, Eddie, I sent the article in the Atlantic. I mean, I know you agree with me that this is scary from
Terrifying.
a
I mean,
career perspective.
I don't know much about this gentleman.
Well, okay, so this goes back to something essential, and that is Hawaii Senator Mazi Hirono.
Oh,
She once
that.
said that accusers are to be believed. And my immediate kind of response to that was, and this forget politics, but to be believed or to be heard. That's just me personally. I'm not saying like
Here's that article.
I'm not arguing for not taking sexual assault seriously.
No, which we face a big, that being a big issue everywhere.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
I don't really have much of an opinion on this guy because I need to do a little more research about him.
Forget Swalwell. I'm talking about in general,
Oh,
society
yeah.
in general.
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
without something going before a jury of his peers for his political career to be over is absurd. Me personally. And again, I don't like the dude. Put
you know,
Mr. Smith's name in it. Put
I mean,
whoever's name in it.
yeah, I mean, we always believe in a fair justice system and fair practice, right? As something that,
Right.
us firmly believe that, we want to see our system work the correctly and the way it's intended to work is for everyone, fairly, you know.
Okay. So do either one of you think that either the former UK ambassador or former Prince Andrew, will see any serious jail time?
Um,
you're really poking the bear today.
that's a hard one. That's a hard one. Okay, so like as
No,
much
I'm
as I
not asking you
want
to
to,
get into specifics about Epstein.
I think there should be justice due where is justice be served where justice is due. And if this individual, whether it be an actual person that I actually met when I was a little boy, which is crazy enough, if they did the crime, they do the time.
Yeah.
Do you think
So
they will? Either one of them, Prince Andrew.
I don't like to speculate when it comes to
Yeah.
something like that. I mean,
He's not
again,
been tried either.
right, but
I think these men are they're probably despicable men that I wouldn't want to share a drink with. So I
look,
want to be
and
clear, I'm not defending them.
right, no, and I completely I believe that, but I don't know. I'm the type that I'd rather, I don't just believe in check twice and verify. Like, I mean, I will go to the umpteenth lengths to verify. I do believe that everybody should be heard, and I don't mean just listened to. I mean actually heard and understood and taken seriously, and for it to be actually documented and thoroughly documented, not just like a sentence or two, right? I think everybody has that right to be fairly heard and understood and to clarify any statements that they could have also made, right? Um, but facts, and again, I'm not defending nobody, and I'm just saying this in a generalized statement because you said you want to take it to a general level. So I, I just believe that facts should definitely always be investigated
Mhm.
to make sure that everything is truly above board, and sometimes even what seems surface level should again be doubled down and understand the why behind that fact or why it's coming to light or what is going on, right?
I
And
guess that's the
so
other part of the. Hold on, I want you to continue, but in light of that's another side of what I'm getting at, though, is the
right,
court of public opinion.
right,
Such as, for instance, now when we were growing up, it wasn't, or I guess when I was growing up, excuse me, in the 90s, there wasn't the same drip, drip, drip from the police to the media. All those details, where do you think they're getting all that? The police is leaking details of the investigation and they're convicting people in the court of public opinion before they ever see a trial, before they see a courtroom.
right.
I mean, for instance, Scott Peterson, all they found was a hair and a pair of pliers. The pair of pliers had a hair in it of his wife's. Never found a murder weapon. Nothing physically tying him to his wife and unborn child. Went to prison, still serving time in prison,
Yep.
nonetheless.
Yeah.
because he sucked in the media. He made terrible copy. He didn't
Right.
shed a tear, didn't grimace, nothing when they showed his unborn fetus. Probably guilty. But still, the evidence they had to convict him was the lack thereof was appalling to me.
Right.
I just gotta ask, how
And
old is was
How
it
old am I?
Prince Charles or Prince Andrew?
Uh,
Prince Charles.
oh, Prince Charles, 160 feet a day. I don't know. Let me check.
No, I'm just
Now,
curious because, like,
are you
I would
talking
love
about
to
King
see.
Charles?
I don't know. I have no idea.
He's the
Whatever.
king now.
Oh, he's the
yeah, I
king
think
now.
so.
Oh, right.
Okay, yeah, I get it. He's like Eddie's like my brother. My brother couldn't tell you he had nose on the throne. King Charles is
Because, like,
179 years old.
obviously,
Oh,
He's 77.
okay, all right. I mean, to be real, I would love to see jail time or some other kind of. Maybe the dude's really sick mentally. I have no idea. Maybe there's some kind of institution. I don't know. Would I like to see that happen? Absolutely. Do I think it's going to happen? Seeing the way the other ones are going, I don't really know. I'm safe to assume that I can't really say yes or no, but I'd like to say yes. I'd like to see some kind of action happen.
I'm going to say a member of the royal family is not necessarily going to prison, but there's been a sea change over in Britain, though. They're not interested in paying for the show that's been going on. Whether Andrew and company realize it or not, it's changed.
Right.
yeah.
And,
Mariel?
I'd like to
Well,
see that happen.
I don't have enough. Look, I'm not condoning anybody's behavior by any means,
Right.
at all, under any circumstances. But I can personally tell you that I am somebody that I do not ballpark. I don't fly off the hip. I don't make rash judgments like that. I don't personally know these people, right? Just because I hate to say what somebody says about you in the media could be twisted into anything at any time. And so I can't make a thorough judgment call unless I know that all the facts are presented in front of me. And then I also, additionally, not just facts, but understand where these facts are coming from and what credibility the sources from the facts are. Right?
Right.
I mean, I hate to say it, but there's a lot of people that use facts and say, oh yeah, I looked this up on Google. It's a complete fact and it's on Reddit. Right? Like I'm not trying
Right.
to overgeneralize it to that point, but
But
and
very
please
true.
don't think that I'm giving any sympathy to anybody, right? On this.
Right.
Please do not think that at all. It's just more of the fact that I would have to know that there is no redaction, that all facts are completely on the table, that I understand the true characters of these people that have not been possibly painted or twisted in any way, shape, or form by the media or smeared or whatever. I understand the individuals as a person and then apply that and that logic and their characteristics to what occurred and the facts involving and the credibility of the facts and who are they stemming from, right, to what is occurring. And so, I mean, just only due to that, that's the only reason why I'm not going to give a yes or no or whether they should, because I don't know. I don't know enough.
Right.
And I would have to have everything in front of me. And I'm not the type of person to say, oh yeah, well, I definitely think
Well,
this
I'll
way
put it to you this
or
way.
whatever, just based off of what somebody else thinks. And I don't have all the information.
I did
Well
a
said.
16-night dive into the Jeffrey Epstein library on doj.gov. Looky cookie at me. I know. I get a t-shirt. But in all seriousness, uh, the level of depravity was not to the severity that I expected, but it was a very dark portfolio to say the least. And like the decor, why is there a baby on a cutting board with onions on a picture in your kitchen, dude? Like
Yeah,
that's weird. That's very
that's,
strange.
yeah, that is. I did not.
I think the thing that aside from the picture of former Prince Andrew crouching over that young woman, aside from that series of pictures, the thing that disturbed me the most was whomever, I think Woody Allen was in the room, but he
Jesus.
would be. Um, whoever it was that had their feet up on the American flag, which was also being used as a tablecloth. That was the part that hit home for me. Not only do we have what it looks like and is quacking like and smelling like and stepping like to me, is a two-tier justice system. That's not only the case, but these men, they're not playing around when they're talking. I'm sure both of y'all have
Wait,
heard
did you
about these
say?
libertarians. They want to form new cities.
Hold on, sorry. I just want to. You didn't. You said Woody Harrelson. It was Woody Allen.
Woody, did I say Woody Harrelson? My apologies, Woody Allen.
Yeah, I just want to
Okay.
make sure because I don't. I think Woody Harrelson's a kind of a good dude.
No, it's Woody Allen. Yes, if I said Woody Harrelson, my bad.
It definitely
I
was.
meant Woody Allen. No,
Because
Woody
Woody
Allen,
Allen's
and
creepy.
technically speaking, Woody Allen didn't do anything, quote, wrong. He married his ex-wife's or his wife's daughter.
Adopted daughter.
Right.
Which is a
Technically
little
speaking.
odd.
Right. It's odd to say the least, to have an affair on your wife with your stepdaughter. That's
That's
strange.
Sorry, it's creepy as fuck, dude. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it
I
is.
don't swear. I don't
Really?
swear, but it's really
Okay.
fucking creepy.
But with that, I will say this. This is the bottom line here to me. Why it gets me hot out of the collar, the whole thing is because there are things that I saw in there, Eddie, that might not put you and I in prison, but I promise you, the mere whiff of these allegations, aside from killing our careers, would have both of us in cops for at least a night, Eddie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm sorry.
I don't need to do too much digging to really want. I don't
Oh,
really
I
have the desire to know.
I did it for all of us. Well, I had
I know
to
you did.
because I wanted to see if it was as bad, and
And
because
I commend you for that.
well, somebody's got to. Otherwise, we don't have any credibility as a publication.
Of course, someone's got to do it. We'll leave it
Well,
to you.
Yeah.
I'm the
You,
single
Jack.
guy with no kids, or one of them, so I just felt like it was appropriate,
Of
Yeah.
course.
and it
Appreciate that.
again, the level of depravity was not as bad as what I expected. I'm not saying it wasn't bad, but more the artwork. Like I said, the child in a copper bin looked like with onions and knives all around it on a cutting
Was
board.
that
Like
was that painted or
it
a
was a
photograph?
portrait. It was a canvas. And
Like
it's like, what's a
painting.
strange thing to have in your kitchen?
Yeah,
It's a
lot of these are
strange
all
thing to
paintings.
paint. What artist would want to paint that?
I don't know, but it was a lot of dark art like that. A lot of the Watchers, which is related to the Nephilim from the Book of Enoch. A lot of statues of that around. A lot of strange
Weird
stuff.
too.
But yeah, I think the thing that finally, because it hit me, like I was referring to earlier, A, the two-tier justice system, but B, these men really think they're above the law. They really do. That's for little people.
Yeah.
It's pretty
And
terrifying.
that's the
how
thing. That is where, to me,
quantify that.
I come from and saying corporations, sure, I believe I'm enough of a capitalist that I believe in them being treated like persons and having their own social security number / EIN. Okay, I'll play ball, but guess what I also believe in for people that really, now I'm not across the board, but they really commit the most depraved of the depraved, men like Ted Bundy. I'm also in favor of the death penalty. And that same goes for these corporations that have not a shred of honor, not a sense of loyalty to the country that birthed them.
Oh,
Well,
absolutely.
with that, you are going to repatriate your tax dollars, or we're going to seize your assets and revoke your corporate charter, the corporate
Yeah.
death penalty.
I agree with that.
And we talked
I
about this.
definitely agree with that.
We talked about this last time too, and I thought it was like, essentially the big thing too with how they could, if we were to seize their assets or take that stuff back,
You only have to do one.
just one, yeah, just one.
One of the
mega
Magnificent
tech
Seven.
companies.
Amazon, Apple, Alphabet, one of the big ones.
I mean, Amazon now is going off the rails even further because now they're going to start developing their own silicone chips. So now they have a
Saw
whole
that.
entire stranglehold over
Mhm.
almost every market of everything. It's crazy.
Nobody
create.
puts their corporate headquarters in Washington, D.C. because of the appearances, right? Amazon had no such scruples.
Hmm.
They had no such qualms. No, these men truly believe the American flag is a tablecloth for them.
I mean,
Yeah,
the
worrying
Aztec
about
built
it and
a freaking
dying
clock
for
in a
it
mountain, didn't
is
he?
that's for chumps like me
Right.
to worry about.
I mean,
That's how they look at
it.
it. That's how they look at the world. Like that, Saigar, the Special Inspector General of Afghanistan Reconstruction's report from 2019, that was the first like tipping part of the coup de grace for me. This broke me in terms of I love our country, but I lost faith that the people at the wheel for this country truly give a damn that they could tolerate this. If this was I just wonder if it was their daughter. I mean, I can't.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see them as tolerating it, but maybe, you know what? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe
Well,
they would.
I feel like
But
they're all complacent with each other and they allow it to happen.
I mean, hell, it's not your son, right?
I
Kind
hate
of
to
son,
say it.
right?
I mean, I know, and I'm not trying to get too generalized here, too personal either, but I mean, I know quite a few people
Some of these men are
or quite a
evil.
few men,
That is a
right,
thing.
that literally they have no qualms, no problems, literally being completely abusive and beating the snot out of their significant other or wife, right? But yet still have daughters,
That's crazy.
right? And they don't have a problem or see a problem with doing that to their wife, the mother of said children, right? Or their, significant other that they apparently love so much. But additionally, they have no problem, gaslighting, manipulating, lying, hurting, deceiving, anything. But God forbid that were to ever happen to one of their daughters, because they would say, oh, that person would just disappear, like we would never tolerate that happening to our daughter. But yet you're going to do it to your
Right.
wife,
That's the
right?
thing. I've known this. And Eddie, I know you've known dudes like that. It's like they treat women like dog shit, pardon my French, but don't you dare ask their sister out. It's like, why? Because you're worried about me treating her as bad as you treat yours?
Right.
Ugh,
I mean, that's the
unfortunately,
thing. It's like,
I've had to end
So
a friendship with someone because they were like that.
right. And so to me, that's not just the top seven problem or a rich man's problem. That begs the question of society, then how a lot of people are being raised and how they can then um justify that to themselves and still look at the mirror and almost dehumanize then
I look at it.
and have no empathy for their significant other and their partner that they're with.
It's a humanitarian issue.
This is not a
Yes.
religious podcast,
No, it's not.
but Muriel and I are both members of the Roman Catholic faith, and the center who ultimately we worship is Christ, right? Christ died for the church, who is described in our scripture as his bride. So, and a 70%, to my point, in a supposedly what 68% Christian country, where is your outrage?
Right.
Where is the response? There ought to
Where
be
is the
50
response?
state houses bursting with legislation, forcing them
Yeah, and then not
to
just that.
release
I
all
mean,
of it.
there's hardly any adequate homes, especially for domestic violence victims or anything like that. I mean,
That's
that
sorely
what that
underfunded.
literally it's one of the most underfunded programs, and it's hardly ever taken seriously. And if you actually get involved with domestic violence or anything else, then they're just like, "Oh, you're one of that." You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
and half the time victims don't even get taken seriously, or you know, it's just ridiculous, right? And it just again but it begs the question then, you know, how that's not just a rich person's problem like you were originally talking about. That is a systemic problem that's being instilled into everybody from every, and it's not just a class problem or
No, that's
poor
not
class,
just a
middle
rich
class, anything.
problem.
It's everywhere. It's
No,
everywhere.
I was referring to the men that are okay with their daughters being trafficked.
So
That's who I
I will
was.
say
That's
that.
not a. That's. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So I was going to just say that. I think it was probably 2 or 3 years ago. There was a big court case in New York, and it was a woman named Nicole, who's actually from Poughkeepsie, or she was from Wappingers or something, but she was a victim of sexual assault violence, and she had killed her boyfriend or fiance or whoever was the abuser, right? But there was she ended up writing a book. Her sister wrote a book about her and the domestic violence and all this stuff like that. And they actually wrote a law. It's called Nicole's Law, and that's about helping the prevention and the um, getting people the correct help that are survivors of sexual assault and all this different stuff. And I can see that in the past couple of years, up here at least, there's been a big movement of trying to help bring more awareness to, not just female and male, but sexual assault and violence
Yeah.
as a whole. So there's
And
big,
Right.
there's a good, hopefully we're looking for better resources that people will have, or at
yeah,
least I'm hoping we'll have, or want to have, or pushing to have,
yeah,
because we can be people that can help. Not saying that I'm a person of that, but I've seen it, I've witnessed it. I'm not a therapist in any sense, but a man of many life experiences. I could definitely help provide some good clarity to people, and we could also too.
yeah.
Even through ModState in the podcast, it's still, we're open to everyone. We're inclusive. It's about that kind of thing that helps bring awareness to all these other situations
Right.
too.
And the one thing that I'd like to point out too is, while I definitely think there is not enough emphasis on sexual assault and what actually that is, right? Actually defining it
Mhm.
too. Um, and literally, there's different forms of violence and assault that actually occur as well, right? Besides, in addition to sexual assault. I mean, there's literally financial abuse. There is
Mhm.
physical abuse, of course. There is emotional abuse,
Mhm.
completely to the point where you're questioning your own reality because you've been told so many lies and you don't know what to believe. Like,
Mhm.
and they just think it's a joke. I mean, it's a full spectrum, and there's so many different forms of abuse. And it gets to the point where, I hate to say it, the abused victim becomes so desensitized to it until they get out of it, almost like a detox. They don't even necessarily realize they were truly being abused
Right.
Right.
until they go to talk about it to somebody and they were like, you went through what? you know like there's quite a few people that I know like that,
Mhm. Mhm.
where, I hate to say, I mean, they could have even been uh pushed out of a moving vehicle,
Mhm. Mhm.
right, in a parking lot, and then they have to get up and go to work the next morning anyway, so they
Man,
just keep going because
what a way.
nobody else is probably going to believe them anyway, so
What a way to end your day. What
yeah, I
that?
know,
Oh,
right,
Jeez.
right,
yeah. Yeah, this took on a broader and darker turn than I ultimately
yeah,
intended, but I am glad that we discussed this though, because everybody's been affected. Everybody's got a family member. Sadly, I
yeah,
mean, this is a tough statistic for me as a man to hear. I'm sure you're not going to like it any better, Eddie, but supposedly virtually 50% of women in the United States of America, land of the free, home of the brave,
Jeez.
their first sexual experience is forced. Now, that statistic is appalling to me
Jesus
and
Christ. Right.
shameful,
I don't
and
even think,
something
I don't
that
even vain.
men,
Jeez.
men have got to address in this country. I'm not saying that, I mean, what more legislation do we have to pass? So,
It's holding each other accountable. There's a big thing of that. And there's not enough people to hold each other accountable, or they're afraid of holding each other accountable as well.
I mean, the first step to be that a lot of folks won't even commit. They won't do what we just did. They
no,
won't sit and talk about it,
they
period.
won't. And then a lot of times, if you're talking about the first encounter, right, depending on the age bracket of that, then there also comes shame into it from the victim because they've been so shamed into
What was
any
she
of that
wearing?
occurring.
What
Right.
was she
Well, not
wearing?
just right. What was she wearing? What was she doing? Was she
Was she
out at
throwing herself
somebody's
at
house?
him?
Did she walk off by herself? Was she asking
Right,
for it?
right,
How was she acting? Maybe that's what led to that. Maybe she did,
right.
and keep in mind, I don't believe in any of that. That's definitely not something that I would ask, but that's all stuff that we have heard, or at
Hmm.
least I
Right.
have. I don't presume to
Oh,
try to talk to it for anybody else, but that also, I want to then go into then, I know you just said force, but people don't understand that that's not necessarily, force isn't necessarily just pinning down. It's also, to the point where they don't necessarily give you an option, or they give you an ultimatum, or then they make you feel guilty,
right.
or
I
then
don't
they,
think that
there's
statistic,
other different versions
yeah,
of force
that
that
wasn't
people
just
don't
talking about
necessarily.
beating her up.
Oh, right. No, I get it. But just even being able to define force and
Right.
what that is, because there's also
Unable to choose
mental,
otherwise is how I
right,
look at that term.
Exactly. But not
No other
everybody looks
option.
at it that way, right? There's some people it's like, oh no, they physically held them down. And because they no or they just laid there.
Right.
So of course they enjoy no,
Right. I don't think
there's
people
other
thought that. I
factors.
don't think that the case was based on Harvey Weinstein physically pinning down, because some of those women were bigger than him, and he was an out of shape and
Wasn't it a
entertainment
fat short
executive. I
dude?
don't think the case was premised on him like
Yeah.
Tarzan and these women down. I think
Yeah.
it was more along the lines of
How
what
did he
you're
look
referring
like?
to.
Right. And it
Yeah.
happens all the time. And then the victim a lot of times feels ashamed or nobody's gonna hear them anyway. So
Right.
they keep their mouth shut for years.
And that's what I feel awful. A peer of mine in the past, not long after I just got started in the insurance business, I
Jesus,
started
I never
talking to
realized
me
how
about
creepy he was.
this, how that had happened in her life. And the cops in the Texas town, which that part shocked me, they come to find out they didn't do anything because it was the cop's brother. And I'm like, it was a long, convoluted story, but I'm thinking like, this is outrageous. Yeah, that
Yeah.
this kind of thing goes on. And it's too often, it's like every era of my life thus far, my 4 decades of the planet, regardless of what group of folks I end up hearing tell of stories, and then I end up encountering somebody, sure enough, in whatever town I'm in, who tells me another story about some monstrosity of a person that this man was that did this to them, and nobody stood up for this woman. And I guess she wasn't rich enough, important enough to matter.
Jesus.
Uh, I guess that's what that was, but I'm going with that. That's somebody's daughter. That's somebody's
Right.
little girl, somebody's sister, somebody's significant other,
Yeah.
somebody's
Harvey
mother.
Weinstein, I'm sorry, but Harvey Weinstein looks like a bad guy out of a movie.
Yes, he does. I
He's
mean,
creepy as shit. I
like
didn't realize how fucking sketchy he was, dude. I have only heard the name. I never actually did any
right.
looking into it because I'm just like, well, he's a creepy fuck guy. I hope
He's not pretty.
No, he looks like some kind of like James Bond evil bad guy
Oh, right. Yeah.
with like
No,
scars on his face. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
like, dude,
yeah, I think he's got bad
that's
acne scars, is what that is. That's
I
what
don't
it
know
looks
what it
like.
is.
Really
Yeah.
bad
Bad
acne
karma is what
scars.
it is, dude.
I hate to say it though, most of the people that also, and I'm not trying to stereotype anybody, but a lot of the people that actually do commit that, right? You a lot of times would never guess that they would. And they could be as charming as Ted Bundy, right? And that's the point, is being able to lure in these victims. And they've just had a hard life. Nobody wants to understand, right? They're just down on their whatever, right? And making them believe like they're just this great person, and then little do you know what's actually going behind closed doors, how they treat their significant other, how they but then put and but God forbid. And again, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't want them to do anything to their children or their daughter, but you understand, like, it's the people sometimes that you least expect that are really charming and that are wonderful, you
Hmm.
know that
It
you
is.
would never know.
It is, and
Yeah.
I say this: we've seen enough to know you honestly never know what's going on behind closed doors at somebody's place. I mean, some of the stuff from people, names I would have never suspected, see all that with. But regardless, I think we got to be coming up on that
Yeah.
time where ModState logo turns into a pumpkin.
Yeah.
If we don't stop, but um,
And flies
yeah,
magically away, right? Isn't that what happens?
it's like that. The undersea cables get cut, the whole nine. It's
Well, I didn't get my
piracy
magic
insanity.
slippers yet, so I don't know what that's all about, bro.
Well, I'll tell you this. Something to look forward to, folks, is Miss Campbell herself is allegedly going to opine and is doing the 10th anniversary op-ed. The 30th of April, the 10th
Yeah.
birthday of ModState.com.
Oh,
And
only a week away.
yep, and she's doing us the honors, joining us from that time. So I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing her within the confines of 2 pages. And
Not 44, right?
But no, any themes you wanna touch? I know what we skipped the whole thing. I wanted to talk about
Yeah.
Troop Nola. It just didn't happen for us. I mean,
Yeah.
I think though at the very least that we could agree that it's good to see New Orleans at the very least on the ascendancy again
Yeah.
versus the decline that it was before Katrina. But there was some post-Katrina decline as well for a little bit. Not nearly as long, but there was a few years there. It feels like of a sort of just uh, federal oversight wasn't helping, ironically.
Mhm.
But although I thought it was necessary originally, but at any rate, any thoughts you'd like to elaborate on there to leave us with on the near-term future?
Um,
Hell, even the long-term future. Take a swing, think big.
when do I not, I guess is the question.
Exactly.
I like that a lot. That was pretty good.
When do I not? There's always room to improve anything and everything. Um,
No,
but
you are going to take a swing. I will
yeah.
give you that, Mariel.
But I will say that I definitely believe New Orleans and Louisiana on a whole, as a whole, right, is definitely on the ascent. And is, I mean, it's incredible everything that is coming to the state and what the state of Louisiana is bringing to it, right? And it's amazing even how much life has been pumped back into New Orleans, in and of itself too. And I just there's so much good that's coming out of it. I mean, literally, people are actually, I hate to use the word hope because, we all know and we've all been told for years, especially in our industry and, catastrophe management, emergency response, hope is not a plan. But literally, people can actually start to see um, a light and find joy again, in everything going on and actually see that the city and the state as a whole is just getting so much funding now. There's so many things that are positive for it. And, I'm planning on my company also, Effectco, being one of those positive things, right?
Oh.
For the city of New Orleans, Louisiana as a whole, the country as a whole, and the world as a whole eventually. Being able to help people in their greatest time of need and bringing that directly to the city of New Orleans, as well as helping people understand how to tell their story and gather it, right? Um, because not that's not an ability a lot of people have, sadly enough. So that everybody can be heard on a larger platform, and then being able to actually make a difference with said stories, right?
Hmm.
But when I say there's so much positivity, I mean it really is changing for the better, and a lot of great things have changed, even to the point where the mayor, I mean, of New Orleans, literally went and up to Baton Rouge and petitioned for more oversight of the sewage and water board of New Orleans.
Hmm.
So,
So
to you
yeah,
open since
which
you
is
opened the since you opened the
definitely a
door
long time
there,
coming. So I mean, she's trying to do anything and everything to make a difference.
right?
And I will say this, she really
The new mayor,
is.
yeah, I like
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Well, since you kind of opened the door there, with it's either the ninth or 10th newest and latest division of the state police that was put by the state of Louisiana, specifically for Orleans Parish. Um, Dramatic 25 percentile drop in every major category of crime, if not greater drop, every major category of crime you could think of. Good thing, too much police in the French Quarter,
Um.
Too much.
invasion of privacy.
Oh, that could be taken so many different ways.
No, but overall,
um.
it's a net good, right? The results of
Yeah, I
having
mean, I'm gonna say this is that
they're very
um
well
the response
self-supervised.
time is become really great.
Hmm.
It used to be that it if you try to call the police in New Orleans metro area, whatever, right? Not talking about Jefferson Parish, but Orleans, anything to do with Orleans, right? It you were lucky if the police showed up in 4 or 5 hours. I mean, literally, just because, and it's not because they were dragging it out or were wanting to waste it. It's literally because they were just so understaffed. They didn't have enough time to respond. Just everything, right? So now, I mean, I'm gonna say this. There was an incident this past weekend as I was driving down Canal Street, right? I don't know what it involved, but all I can say is that there were, and I took photos of it. It was an incredible response time. There was a lady that obviously called or whatever. She came running out of this restaurant that was on the corner by Cafe Beignet, right? Next thing you know, there was there were golf carts full of police literally going down Canal Street as fast as they could. I mean, as many police officers as you could fit on a golf cart, and two of them. Okay.
Yes, Lord,
Then
we
on
will
wait,
ride with
then
you.
on, yes, then on top of that, there was like two state trooper vehicles like surrounding them, and then even the National Guard pulled up. Literally, they
Well,
were
I'm sure they're going to
surrounded.
have cavalry there
Okay,
any minute.
and wait, and then they had NOPD on top of it, like come there too, right? So then there was two NOPD squad cars with National Guard, everything. They surrounded this guy. They brought him out in less than 5 minutes, and they blocked Canal Street. They only blocked Canal Street for maybe 10 minutes, and then after all that, it was cleaned up, and then they left.
That sounds like New York.
That's wild.
So,
That is
so
wild.
literally, I was just, and in fact, I just could not believe it. I actually took videos of it. If it could, not because I thought it was, but literally, I was like, wow, this is a huge change, right?
Right.
It was great kind of to see because
Wow.
we're used to knowing that the police take forever to get out there, but now, I mean, they've really stepped it up.
How long does it take in Poughkeepsie, Eddie?
Gypsies.
I mean, they're there every other day with you and your hard thugging. So
Those, yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, hard thugging, all right. I mean, I would say their response time is within 5 minutes.
oh,
Anywhere in the city of Poughkeepsie.
that's awesome.
Now in like New York City, dude, you got fucking, excuse me, you have two cops on every corner and in every subway station. There is not an incident where like you do something wrong, there's 10 cops just showing up. Dudes on bikes,
About like
vehicles.
London now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's wild.
It's crazy.
Up here though, there's a bit more, there's a lot more state troopers, sheriffs, kind of stuff like that, and their response time is incredibly fast.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally, when I was going to the store the other day before work, I was cruising along down Route 9 by Marist University, excuse me. And there's a trooper a couple cars in front of me, and all of a sudden, there's some cars speeding the other way. He flicked on his lights, and he did a whole entire power slide. It was like something out of a movie, dude. It was awesome.
Yes.
He did a whole power slide and zoomed off. I looked behind me. He pulled over two people. Not one, but two.
Yes.
And
This
I
guy
was
was
like,
on it.
this was like immediate action. And I was like, man, these guys are really on top of it. Like
Deputy Sheriff Fife was out there. I'll tell you what.
they really are. And like growing up, knowing tons of police officers, because my father in the city being a firefighter, those guys.
Do you?
It's a big brotherhood. It was interesting growing up with that kind of, those kind of people in my life, whereas now I don't really have much involvement with them, but it's still like those guys are hardcore. They don't mess around, man. They do not mess around. City of Poughkeepsie was not a friendly place when I was growing up as a kid.
No, it actually, no lie, before the Poughkeepsie tapes had a rep. Not like East Orange, New Jersey.
Well,
Nothing
you
to
had
that.
the crazy Kendall Francois gentleman who was
Right.
that's a whole nother day for another.
That's a different episode. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
there's some weird stuff that happened in the city of Poughkeepsie.
that's any buzz left killer right there. So with that, we are. Thank you, sir. We're out of time, but Mariel, thank you for coming by and joining us, and we'd like you to, be a more frequent fixture. It's been what,
Frequent flyer is always great.
Yeah.
twice in 5 months. We'd
Yeah.
like it. We'd like it to be more frequent than that. So
Okay. Well, I love being able to come on anytime you invite me. So just let me know when. I'd love to continue joining in this.
Absolutely.
Well,
There's a lot of discussions to be said.
it is. Well,
Absolutely.
I'll have a far lighter list since I know our propensity is to go dark. It is none of us mean ill, but
No.
one way or the other, all three routes here we're going dark at some point. So I'll deliberately prepare a lighter cadre of topics for next time, knowing that, to counter for said inevitable curve.
I mean that studio down
Bell
south
curve.
is sounding
Yeah.
real
Right.
good right now.
It's our own, yeah, it's our own bell curve. But with
Yeah.
that, till next time, folks, we appreciate it. Au revoir.
Bye.
Take care.